Good evening, friends. Today we are going to speak about how we manage our insider threat with ever changing and evolving IT scenario. Insider threat is very important. We spoke about three personas and the different places from where they're going to work: office, home, and roaming around. When we go ahead and look at that, entire thing is focused on the human being, on the person, and giving him comfort. Now, when we go ahead and do that on the workspace, we are expanding our workspace. We're expanding our workspace to allow people to come into our network. Now, they've moved out of the office LAN and we have introduced the internet to come into our network system. We have allowed our customers to come into our system. We are allowing partners and suppliers to come into the system, because most of it is now exposed to an O365, or for that matter of fact, certain third-party apps that we use from the internet. All of that brings in unwanted players into the system. And that's what we see across as news articles that have been there even after the COVID. Ransomware attacks, hackers into the system compromising our data. Our data is available on the darknet for sale, and things of that nature. So we are constantly trying to look at the right set of tools, the right set of equipments that give us that kind of an information and that help us negate that and prevent our network or our data from being available across. So if you see for the newspapers for the last couple of months, a lot amount of data breaches is there, a lot amount of activity of customer information being made available on the darknet and things like that. You also find people bragging about we taking down your airport websites, we taking down your business websites across, and there is a big amount of focus that has come into stealing data and then having that publicly available. You as IT admins and people who look about that, how do you all try to cope up with that, or how do you all try to keep up with government regulations? If you are aware about, there is a law that has been passed by the government where within 6 hours you have to report a data breach that has been identified. Now, you must be aware of one of a global pharmaceutical player from India who had a breach, and they had to report it to the regulator because of compliance requirement. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to publicize, that my network has been compromised. But today the law demands you to do that. So how do you take care of all that kind of a situation? If you look at it, you have the next generation firewall, top of the line. Everybody says my product is the best. You are going ahead and taking care of it. You also have AVs and EDRs and EPBs all available. The best in the market. You have vetted amongst the top players, and you've got that. Gartner plays an important role in telling you who is the best across. You also have SINs and SOARs who are collecting a whole lot of information. They're giving you thousands of alerts every day. But still, you have all of this happening. Why is that? What is missing across? What I would say is the human element. Be it a careless attitude in your security, or you're doing something which you are not aware of, that that is leading to something that leads to a data leak, or that leads to something that you all have not thought about. You have DLP softwares available, but if you look at the practicality of it, that product does not scale. It's very heavy on the endpoint, and that brings about the number of agents that you're using on your endpoint devices. So if you check, you will have close to 8 to 9 endpoint agents running across on your endpoint devices. That makes those devices very heavy, but still you do not get the satisfaction of security that's required. So what is required is a combination of all of this, and still this needs to be very light on your endpoint, on these new devices that you take across. Now, they also would run, as you said, an AI-based solution which is going to optimize or give you better input. But the load falls on that poor little laptop or that device that is being shared across with your with your users, and they are going to run with that. With so many agents running across, what they're going to do is they're going to crib about the device being slow. But security nevertheless needs to be there. So what is it that you can do to bring across? So the factor that we are introducing is something called as DTEX. It's a platform that helps you work or give you something that is a forensics, that is a user DLP, that is all clubbed into one. Now you would say one more agent to play with. I already have so much on my plate. But what I'm trying to introduce out here is we are giving you a platform where you will find immediate return on investment. How is that? By introducing or letting you know who is maliciously trying to play with your data, who is carelessly trying to behave with the security protocols, and we will reduce the number of false positives that come into your security alerts. So if your SIM or if your the monitoring tools gives you 1,000 alerts, out of which 10 of them are going to be just useful and rest 90 are going to be just alerts which are false positives, how can you work on that? So I will pick up an example of one of the top 5 global banks where we introduced the solution that I'm talking about, which is a DTEX platform, only in the first year to look at network visibility of your laptops when it was offline, which means which is not connected to your corporate network. Now that endpoint at that point of time had around 9 different agents running onto it. As you can see the logos out here, this was introduced in the first year, and the value add that we gave along with the SIM solution that is there, they were in a position to remove at least 4 agents, and they kept running with an antivirus, with an EDR, with a firewall, and they integrated our feeds into the SIM Splunk that they were carrying across. So they reduced their agents by at least 4 different agents in the second year itself when they renewed the service with us. When they moved to the third year, what they went ahead is they removed a few other agents across. So already they are lightweight, and that's only because the information that we are giving across or the feedback that we are giving on our platform to them, which is integrated into the SIM, makes a lot of sense to remove all the cluster, make the endpoint very successfully lightweight, which improves the performance of that device. What we categorize reports are into a careless kind of a worker, inside an agent, disgruntled employee, malicious insider, third party. So when we say malicious insiders and disgruntled employees, those are employees who knowingly want to extract data or remove data out, and they also know ways and means of covering their tracks. This is something what your DLP and what your behavior analysis software does not do. After an incident has come in, we go ahead and search the logs to identify who did what at what time frame. Here, we proactively, real time tell you that somebody is doing something which is not supposed to, and that gives you all an advantage to proactively be aware that somebody is trying to do something which should not have been done by him as a normal course of activity. So we can collect telemetry and metadata from all layers, be it a VDI, be it a cloud service provider, be it any other mediums that you're using for server or for endpoints. And the metadata that we collect is very less. There is no weight on the laptop or on the endpoint, and that is also something that helps us analyze and use artificial intelligence, use the neural networks that we're talking about in the backend. But what we do is we are not bombarding you with information. We are only going to give you information that is relevant. And that is relevant in the fashion of identifying in these 5 categories. An insider risk, a DLP kind of a thing, credential theft or data forensics, or fraud analysis. So we give you information where, God forbid, you are not being compromised. Or if even after this information is available, you're compromised, you at least are able to pinpoint immediately to report to the regulators that this was the leak and we have plugged it across. That's what we are going to try and give it to you, and this information can be fed into your current monitoring system with less false positives. So what I ask is only an opportunity to run a POC which can be run on your network. And what we will do is we will give you reports in this fashion where the scoring is given across, where we identify that there is a malicious behavior or there is a negligent behavior. If there is a compromise kind of a thing, there is a behavioral aspect where you can identify what is the score that is giving across to a certain person, and that will give you information or a defense in depth solution, even though whatever you all have got right now to protect yourself. So you all can just showcase or you all can identify where we clearly give you that three behaviors were identified which is malicious in nature. That's something that is on top of whatever security you all hold right now. So that gives you a visibility of how the behavior is going to impact your organization, how you can protect it from being compromised with. So that's all my ask across, that you all can run a POC across, see what is still reports that come across even after having the best of security that you all have felt that is there in your organization. Now, EPACS is just a sister concern for New Era itself, which purely concentrates on to data security and cloud practices.